I felt like I didn't really know what I was getting into.
If you don't see us by nightfall tomorrow, send a search party.
The mountain progressively threw more and more things at us.
It's really hard. Your body's screaming at you. It's no joke.
When you're in the mountain doing what no one has done before, things can go sideways. And that's when you find out what you're made of.
So the Komodo National Park is smack dab in the Java Sea, and we're basically setting off and cruising through the park and then heading north to Sangeang Island. Basically figuring out if there's anything amazing to be ridden around the Java Sea. We're going to be basing off of my friend Maritza's boat. What's unique and different about this area is the amount of abundant marine life, reefs and beautiful islands and beautiful white sandy beaches, crystal clear water, villages that have been there for hundreds of years. For athletes, we have myself, we have Georgia, and then we have Ashleigh McIvor. She's always been a mountain biker since she was a young child, and she's one of the unique characters that actually really enjoys the pain and the suffering of a good adventure. Georgia is, a longtime friend of mine, shredder of a freerider. She's also a Whistler girl, so fairly local from where I grew up. Super great person to have around, great attitude. It's no question in my mind that these two are more than capable of taking on any task. The pinnacle of the trip will be hiking Sangeang Volcano. It's a small island that doesn't have a lot of inhabitants. It did erupt in 2014 and 2018. They were both very large eruptions. The girls definitely knew the risks and the dangers on this trip. I laid it on heavy. It's going to be real and things can go wrong.
Don't really know what to expect, mostly excited, a little bit nervous.
It's going to be a mission, hike a bike the whole way up, and we're not really sure how rideable it is.
Day one, we just motored out to Banta Island. We're just kind of deciding our best plan to get the bikes across and up to the top.
If you get on that ridge up here,
we can see.
You can always go south.
Yeah,
Land.
it's like when you're a kid driving and you can imagine yourself
exactly.
riding. Oh my goodness, I am dripping off of every pore. I'm a little bit skeptical after what we just rode, but this actually looks promising. And wow, that beach underneath it is really cool.
All right, what a spot. Here we are standing over the Java Sea on a sweet little island with some rad single track on it. There's only a few people in this lighthouse manning it. So we're in Rinch Island here and at this cool little fishing village.
Hold in right there if that'd be good.
And it's really cool. It's like a family affair. Everyone's helping out.
They've got casts of a flour from the hill, and then they add eggs and make it into a dough to make it like their bread.
these local people letting you into their lives, you really realize that like they don't have anything and they're really happy. Bye!
Bye, guys!
I'm gonna go dive with some turtles, check out what's below the sea.
Tapi saya mulai di karang dulu baru nanti saya ke sini.
I started mountain biking with this goal to push myself to go faster and ride new things, ride harder things. And in this new adventure avenue, I really like how it's not just me against the clock, but it is still me against me. And in those moments where you're digging deep, you're pushing hard, that's the part that I love. And I love the fact that I usually have people around me. And I also love just exploring these new places. But now it just feels like I'm growing and I'm pushing myself in a very different way. And I love that a lot. It looks pretty cool. Like this tiny little town has a little shanty, and I guess they're sesame farmers. So we're gonna walk through the sesame fields to start off the hike. Exciting. Kind of stoked about this cloud. It actually looks like it's raining over there too, which is kind of sick.
I'm sure it will be super overgrown, like the worst case scenario.
Checking out this village, gonna go meet our crew that's gonna join us to the top.
They're gonna come with us on the hike and help us find the trail.
If you don't see us by nightfall tomorrow, send a search party. It's crazy how lush and green it is, volcanic island. So we ended up deciding on like a 2 p.m. departure, started to kind of slowly make our way up through the lowlands, and it was hot.
You're so sweaty.
You know, we really had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. We didn't know, like we heard there was a trail, but we didn't really know what their definition of trail might be.
So far, so good on the trail.
So far, the trail is a trail. Bonus. And at first, it was like a lovely grade, and we were riding through their sesame fields, and it got progressively steeper and progressively more challenging.
For me, the heat was nearly unbearable. 2 layers of clothing already completely drenched through. It's probably 200% humidity right now.
My shirt's so wet, it's actually keeping me cool now.
Yeah, the way up, I was definitely borderline overheating, but like the clouds kind of came over and it cooled down a little bit to enough to where I could kind of regulate my temperature and kind of settle in.
And the mountain progressively threw more and more things at us that made it feel like it was trying to make sure we couldn't get to the summit.
I can see maybe one of the summits. It's actually looking super nice out there. I have never sweat this much in my life. Normally, everyone kind of needs to stick to their own pace and needs to get into their own routine step by step. And that for me is kind of a cool place to get into that rhythm. And that's what teaches me about how strong I am as a human.
Every step of the way of you getting to reach your goal of that challenge, it's really hard. Your body's screaming at you, like all your elements are screaming at you.
I'm fine with that stuff. Like it's like one foot in front of the other. It's almost like hypnotic, you know, like you just get in the zone and you just go.
We just made it to our, I think this is gonna be our camp spot. We're like at the first saddle. It's not too late, but we're gonna get up super early. That bit.
I've always loved a good sufferfest. I think, you know, I even when it's uncomfortable, it's not painful. Doing things that are like, you know, somewhat unpleasant. It's a good skill to have because it gets you to really cool places to do really cool things, and it's kind of what I live for.
I think it's about 10-ish o'clock right now, and our wake-up call's at about 3 o'clock.
There's a lot of anxiety and concern with camping and hiking up the side of an active volcano. It's no joke. It's by chance when it's going to erupt the next, and when it hasn't had a big eruption in a certain amount of times, as we all know, it's just building pressure.
Hot night. At least it's not cold wind. But yeah, the bivvy sounded like it was gonna fly away last night. I had to keep waking up and checking to see that my stuff didn't blow away, but we were all good.
But getting up that early and being like cold and you couldn't see anything, and we really didn't know like which way we were supposed to go to the summit. We were sort of going by feel.
On first looks, it looks like it's gonna be pretty freaking fun descent.
Yeah, there was definitely a few moments of doubt on the way up our final push. The headlamps needed to be on, just so you know where everyone was, and there was lightning on the left and right of us, and Ashleigh even said to me, she's like, is this okay? And it's so foggy, you can't quite tell.
It was one step forward, two steps back, and if there was daylight and if I could see how properly steep that thing was and how for most of it wasn't really rideable, I think my mindset would have been slightly more crushed.
Anytime you do a big hike like that and then have a little bit of sleep and have a really early wake up just to keep on going, you're still in this euphoric like high. You kind of switch it into beast mode. You just turn off all the pain and all the discomfort, and you find a place that you can enjoy the pain and the discomfort, which brings like an extra bit of energy reserve that you never knew that you had in you.
Sunrise at the top of the volcano is super rewarding. You never really see the peak until you're up there, you're above the clouds, and it's like you have this whole little view into its own world that you can't see from the bottom. Oh, that's better than the steaming crap above you.
Like the crater's right here.
We're overlooking the crater.
You know, as you get older, your responsibilities start to kind of pile up, and the efforts needed to succeed and be successful, you know, it gets harder and harder. These trips really put into perspective, you know, what is difficult and what should be stressed about and what is easily achievable with just a little bit of effort.
I always remind myself that if I didn't do hard things and if I didn't challenge myself, even the easy things seem hard.
I mean, these adventures, you just learn so much about the people you are sharing these experiences with. When you see people digging deep and pushing themselves to the limits of what they're capable of, it's impressive.
Adventures like this really humble you, but also for me, I know that I can do these hard things and I know how happy I'm gonna be after they're done.
And then you step back to your everyday life and you're presented with some challenges and you think to yourself, you're like, wow, like this is absolutely nothing considering what I just went through.
Those moments where you're just questioning why you're even here, why on earth you're hiking up this volcano with a bike on your back. It's super tough, but afterwards the reward is massive and you come home with even more to show for it. Just the fact that you can push through something like that.
You know, the whole spirit of going on an adventure and finding new places at the end of the day, I think it's that part of finding out what's over the next hill or what's out there, what can be ridden is in a lot of us, especially us mountain bikers.